In quite a shock surprise this Sunday morning, Aston Villa have confirmed the departure of Dean Smith as the head coach of Aston Villa Football Club. In a statement that is read from Aston Villa themselves, it reads, Dean was appointed Villa head coach just 3 years ago in October 2018 and led the club back to the Premier League via the playoffs in the first season in charge, following a club record 10-match winning sequence toward the end of that campaign. The following season, he kept Villa in the top flight whilst also leading the team out of the Carabao Cup final at Wembley, narrowly losing 2-1 to Manchester City. CEO Christian Purslow said, when Dean joined us in October 2018, our team was really struggling in the Championship. He immediately transformed the atmosphere and performances and achieved the ultimate success of leading Villa Park back to the Premier League within the same season, a rare feat. He then secured our place in the Premier League after a tough campaign that took us to a cup final in Wembley. However, after a good start to last season, this year we have not seen the continuous improvement in results, performances and league position which we have all been looking for. For this reason, we have decided to make a change now to allow time for a new head coach to make an impact. The board would like to thank sincerely Dean for his many achievements on and off the pitch during this time. Everyone knows how much Aston Villa mean to Dean and his family. He has represented this club with distinction and dignity. Universally liked and respected by everyone associated with Aston Villa, our staff, players and supporters alike. We wish him the very best. The process of replacing Dean will now begin and the club will update supporters in due course. So that is the breaking news. Aston Villa have confirmed the sacking of Dean Smith from Aston Villa. I know in my video on Southampton I said it was time to go. I still maintain it in the sense of what we've been like this season, how poor we've been. But you cannot help but feel the incredible sadness. It's one of those things I just didn't want to see happen just because of that connection he had to us and what he has done. But it's sadly one of those things that you've got to look at it and say we're just not in a position where we can mess around anymore. I kind of foreshadowed it last season, if you remember. I used to say he's got 10 games this year to prove himself and he's had 11. Kind of jinxed it, but it's a shame. It's a real shame it's had to end this way. But as I said, losing 5 games in a row, the way we have, the position we're in, the money he's had to spend, it just couldn't be sufficient enough to carry him on, considering the next few games that we have. And it's a real shame that it's had to come down this way. As they've said, some of the great memories coming in, changing the fortunes around the club after Steve Bruce came in, with John Terry and O'Kelly, really bringing in the new exciting style of football. Guy being a Villa fan himself, being there when he was younger, really feeling like he could connect with the fans and understand what we want. And he did give us what we want after a tough period. Gave us that 10-game winning run, got us to the playoff final, won it, got us promoted to the Premier League and really put Villa back into the limelight again and created, for me, one of the best moments in Aston Villa history. When you look at everything that's happened and where we wanted to be, it was just a great season. Obviously, the year after that, it was going to be tough. It wasn't the easiest. We survived by the skin of our teeth. But in doing so, he also got us to a cup final in the Carabao Cup and only narrowly got beaten by Manchester City, who were flying prior to that point. So to do that in his first season, he did really well. Obviously, going into next season, a bit better recruitment. The brilliant start that we had, beating Liverpool 7-2. Really looking like for most of the year we could push on and potentially have a top 10, top 8 finish. Sadly, it massively fallen away due to a COVID outbreak, but also just something that's been exhibited throughout Dean Smith's time in Villa, just a clear poor run of form. But ultimately, Villa managed to sufficiently get a 11th place finish last year, which was still a much better improvement. It could have been so much more, but ultimately, it's much more of a positive than a negative. And then this season, yet again, the player recruitment that's been brought in, Danny Ings, Emi Buendia, Leon Bailey. There's a lot of great talent that was brought in. And sadly, some of them have worked, some of them haven't worked. We're still yet to see all of them play. He has had some neglecting issues. I know Watford, he had some injuries. He hasn't been able to play the way he wanted to. But ultimately, other times, it's just been poor. Performances have been poor. Players apparently falling out with each other. When stuff like this happens, the writing was on the wall. And I think the whole Villa community is in the centre of it. I know I've seen people on Twitter tweet about it. I've seen Jack Grealish also tweet about it. Still don't like it, mate. But you know, it's hard to accept, really, just because he's such a nice gentleman. He comes across really well, and it's just a really sad day to see someone when you feel that close with as a manager come to an end, unfortunately. But it's what happens in football. If you don't do it, you're going to get canned. We've seen it with Nuno. We've seen it with Norwich, who've just sacked Farke after winning their first game of the season. But to be fair, they only had 20 or something game losing run. In terms of stats, though, he's had 87 matches in the Premier League as Aston Villa manager. He's only won 28, drawn 16, and lost 43. Not great, and has amassed 100 points. 100 points per match is 1.15. And yeah, it's one I wasn't expecting to make. I saw reports saying he was going to get the Brighton game, get the Palace game, get that reassurance. I think cooling after Friday night, I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, I can work. He's got to show something. He's going to get the international break. He can go back to basics, and I think everyone was thinking the same. But sadly, it just hasn't happened. And obviously now, it really turns to who is now going to be the man to succeed Dean Smith, not replace, succeed. Now, we've had some links in the past few days. Obviously, early in the week, Fonseca, from previously managing Roma, he's been heavily linked with the job. Obviously, not a lot of people have been really happy with him, considering he can't seem to maintain a job for more than 2 years. But his win percentage is much greater than Dean Smith's. Obviously, Lucius Favre, I think it is, the Borussia Dortmund former manager. A possible opportunity there. There's obviously now fresh links with the Denmark manager, which I suppose, considering what's happened today, maybe there is some real truth in that, and has ultimately, we should have seen this one coming. Obviously, John Terry, I saw, was a link, which is possibly very understandable considering how close he's been with the managerial staff already. Frank Lampard's been linked. There's a lot of potential managers to see from here. In terms of who I'd like, I don't really know. I haven't done my research yet. I haven't really decided who star football I'd like to see. If I could be blunt, I'd say not John Terry. Frank Lampard, I know people are not going to be massively happy with him considering the lack of experience, but considering what he did with Derby and Chelsea, I don't think there's a bad manager there. If anything, I would have preferred someone like an Eddie Howe, but he's going to Newcastle. If I had to choose one, just off the top of my head, I would really go and pay the money for Sean Dyche, just because he knows the Premier League. I think he's a really good manager regardless of the budget that he gets. And I think if you give him a team like this, he can really see something interesting there. I know Graham Potter would be another excellent choice, but you've got to think he's doing well with Brighton. Would he really consider taking that leap of faith from there and coming back over to something that's going to require a little bit more time, but then also get a much better financial backing and reassurance? Who knows? Who knows he's going to go for? Someone international, possibly. Whoever it is, it's got to be a successor. It cannot be just a simple replacement. They've got to hit the ground running, and they've got to be one who's going to improve Aston Villa. But that is the breaking news. Villa have confirmed the sacking of Dean Smith as Aston Villa's head coach. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this. We will probably post a more in-depth video with Nathan as well to see what he thinks about this and having a better discussion of who is going to be the right replacement for Aston Villa. But until then, leave in the comments down below or tell us on our social pages. Without further ado, I've been Ben, up the Villa, with the pride of Villa. I love you, Dino, but we will see you later, boys.